Hello, I'm Chris Hewitt and welcome to a brand new series, yes, series, of GameShock TV, your friendly neighbourhood guide to the latest in gaming goodness. With 2011 swinging into action, it's time to take a sneak peek at what's in store for today's show. Clue, it involves Spider-Man. Yes, Spider-Man does whatever a spider can, like it squashed a lot in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Korea wreaks bloody revenge for Ronald McDonald's oppressive regime in the gritty home front. We look at some games you may have missed, and there's your chance to win some great prizes in our exclusive competitions. Once again, it's that time of year when the carpets get red, bow ties get, well, tied, and Joan Rivers claws her way out of cryostasis to feast on the blood of the living. Yes, it's award season, but films don't have it all their own way. Video games have begun to make their mark on the statuette industry as well, with this year's BAFTAs. Glitzy, glam, and with some of the best games in recent memory up for gongs, here's a rundown of the big winners on the night. Hosted by the always Irish Dara O'Brien, this year's BAFTAs paraded stars aplenty, including a helmetless Stig, who managed the seemingly impossible feat of looking less cool in a tuxedo than he does in a boiler suit. The ceremony also achieved a world first by flooring a boxing champion with the simple yet cunning use of an auto cue.
Armchair sport doesn't get more exciting than this year's nominees.
It's over there, Joe. No, your other left. The awards themselves were evenly divided. Some of the best recent releases earning their shiny pretend Phantom of the Opera mask. But the Best Game Award rightly went to the only title this year with a Gilbert and Sullivan singing stick insect, the brilliant Mass Effect 2.
I was a little bit concerned. We were nominated in several categories. Huge competition in all those categories. Deserved winners in all those categories. But I kind of had an inkling that we might get this one. I think the amount of support we've had for this game since it's released, over a year ago now, people don't seem to be forgetting it, and they're still playing it and enjoying it. And the beautiful thing about it is that everyone who plays it has a different experience. It's their Commander Shepard in their own universe, and they're crafting that story themselves. So it gives gamers an incredible investment in that journey, and I think that's kind of proved out by this award.
It's got claws. It's got laser beams. It's got people in spandex beating 7 shades of Shinobi out of flame-retardant dogs. No, it's not the Royal Wedding. It's Marvel vs. Capcom 3, the long-awaited sequel to Marvel vs. Capcom 2. This one has a whole host of new characters, a brand new number at the end, and loads of colourful ways for you to irreversibly fry your retina. After months of practicing thumb-strengthening yoga, we got our hands in the game and brushed up on our best combo stick swirls. Shuriken! Did I say that right? Ever wondered who'd win in the fight between Chris Redfield of Resident Evil and X-Men's mighty Wolverine? Well, it's Wolverine. But what if Redfield had backup from the likes of the Incredible Hulk and Ryu? It's 3-on-1, and Wolverine, yeah, will probably still win. But he won't have to win alone because Devil May Cry's Dante and Iron Man can help him kick some pixelated 2D ass. Discounting any weird allegiances towards Hugh Jackman, what does Marvel vs. Capcom 3 offer? After Street Fighter Hadoukened all competition with its triumphant return last year, Capcom have stuck with the winning formula. More characters, greater graphics, and all-out madness. Combining a rich history of their best and most nostalgic characters, along with Marvel's pedigree mutants, Capcom deliver up a tantalizing cocktail of choices as you pick 3 fighters for a tag team deathmatch. There are some real left-field possibilities in there, meaning the Hulk can easily meet his doom against a pre-teen girl in a robot outfit. Of course, when it comes to beat-em-up gameplay, there are 2 camps, the studio's combo learner and the haphazard button masher. Both will initially find success in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, although it's difficult at first to see how anyone could possibly master the intricate system of moves. The action is so fast and furious, even Vin Diesel will get motion sickness. Combos can cause enemies to fall before they even know what's hit them. In fact, it can happen before you even know what's hit them. There are some frustrating quirks to the learning sections. It becomes tedious to pull up the instruction menus when it would be more helpful to have them displayed in-game. But once you've got the hang of it, stringing together your own brand of colourful death is extremely satisfying. The graphics themselves look better than a roundhouse kick delivered by Jet Li to your best friend's face. The backgrounds are some of the most rich in detail we've seen in a fighting game, and the colours burst through the screen with serene vibrancy. Story-wise, however, it's less meaty than the likes of DC Universe vs Mortal Kombat or the Tekken series, relying on completism and the prospect of unlockable characters to keep hold of lone gamers. However, the real value, of course, is in the multiplayer. Gathering your friends round for a bout or 10 of manic action is immensely entertaining, and if you don't have any friends, the online mode is a great way for opponents worldwide to test your skills and taste your wrath. So is it any good? While it's not a game changer, Capcom have come up with yet another winner thanks to a very solid "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" philosophy. Beat-em-ups are the ultimate in pick-up-and-play entertainment, and in that sense, this really delivers. With further characters planned as DLC, Ryu and Jums will be uppercutting foes on your console for a fair few years yet. Good fun on your own, but if you're able to get some mates round, it's a real blast. If you can, invite Hugh Jackman. Now, if you want to get your hands on a copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and frankly, if you don't, you must be Dr. Doom, then we've got 2 copies to give away for the Xbox 360. All you need to do to enter is be over 12 years old, easy enough, and answer this ridiculously simple question: what fictional metal is fused to Wolverine's bones? Email your answer to the address on the screen, and we'll announce the winner on the next show.
Remember the days when war games still felt fresh and original? Remember when gunning down Nazis still made you feel giddy and excited, like the thought of getting a new puppy? Remember when surviving a barrage of heavy arms fire and ballistic missiles was still a challenge? Them were the days.
Of course, nowadays, genres are more narrow and generic than ever before. With the Call of Duty franchise an annual phenomenon, what room is there for originality in the first-person shooter genre? How do you make something fresh and engaging in today's market? Well, we caught up with Chaos Studios, the team behind controversial new shooter Homefront, and peppered their brains for answers. Not with actual pepper. That would be weird.
The World War II genre in first-person shooters was very popular for a while, and I think it just became saturated, and people wanted to, gamers wanted something a little fresher, and then so we came to the modern combat kind of era. I think that that's kind of where gamers are focused on right now. The shooter genre is being the most competitive genre. The challenges involved in that is there's the obvious things like the big dev teams and the big budgets and the great marketing campaigns, but I think there's also the need to have your concept be immediately engaging when people hear about it, and when they learn more about the game, what are you bringing new, what's grabbing their attention. So there's got to be the familiar sort of fundamentals that you're doing well of shooting experience, but then there's also what are you adding to the genre and bringing new to it. And we tried to do something a little different with having the resistance side of it. I think that's going to be a fresh and unique take that Homefront offers. I don't think you can just clone Call of Duty or any of the top shooters, because if you're doing that, well, they're already out there, so why would people, come and want to play it? So you have to bring something fresh to the table. I think with Homefront on the single-player side, our premise is a big one. The occupation, experiencing occupied America in the year 2027 is an America you've never seen before. Doing it from the civilian and common man perspective, and really bringing in sort of an emotional civilian side of it, where you're seeing how the civilians are affected and experience and endure this occupation. So the way we tell that story and the depth that we do it in, I think, is going to feel a lot different than most shooters, most contemporary shooters. One of our taglines for the game is the familiar has become alien. So in order to create something familiar, we really went all out in every aspect you can think of, from using Hillary Clinton, from using real-world nations, from having real-world brands like the White Castles and the Hooters and various brands in the game, from having real-world weapons and tanks, and the vehicles are all licensed real-world. So we wanted to start with America as familiar as it possibly could be, and then once you've accomplished that familiar side of it, then twisting it with occupation and this post-EMP living becomes much more compelling and engaging than if it's already something you don't recognize to begin with. We didn't want to pull back on the sort of ratings side of Homefront. So you'll see moments in Homefront that are pretty shocking and harrowing. The largest gaming audience is sort of the mid-30s audience right now. So we felt that we could still do that mature title without, you know, sacrificing too large a percentage of the market. On the multiplayer side of it, our goal has been really to do large-scale warfare. So we have a great infantry experience with a lot of great infantry weapons and tools, but we also bring in the vehicle side of it. And in addition to that, bring in some great features like battle points and battle commanders. So we say it kind of makes large-scale warfare personal, and where you get these small sort of micro conflicts that happen and very dynamically because they're all based on player interactions. So the targeted innovation in multiplayer and kind of the premise and human side of it in single player, I think, is the Homefront recipe.
And as for the game itself, well, you'll have to wait until later in the show for our official verdict. We're sneaky that way. Now, 2011 is shaping up to be a great year for games, but for every big-budget juggernaut, there are games that get left behind, crushed underfoot, and caked in the mud of oblivion. Luckily, we've picked out some of the best games from last year that, for whatever reason, didn't get a fair shot in a feature we like to call some of the best games from last year that, for whatever reason, didn't get a fair shot. Take a planet run by robots. Add a tech-savvy 21st century Jessica Rabbit, and then top it off with a freerunner built like Arnie's long-lost clone. And no, we don't mean Danny DeVito from Twins. Now add some truly mind-blowing set pieces, the backdrop of a post-apocalyptic US of A, and boom! Mind bomb! Enslaved sees you play as Monkey, a hulking brute with a heart and a brain. Having escaped a crash-landed slave ship, you're captured by Trip, who forces you to help her navigate home. Why must you do everything our heroine demands? Because the little minx has programmed the device to explode your brain if you don't. I think we can all relate to that. First, a confession. When we first picked up the game and saw it had you playing as a lunk-headed gym obsessive with questionable hair set in a broken future world with a comely young lady to protect, originality was not the first word that sprung to mind. And yet Enslaved, Journey to the West, remains one of the most affecting, rounded and satisfying game experiences we've had in the last year, and leaves an impression well past the time Monkey and Trip's adventures come to a close. Featuring stunning motion capture performances masterminded by Gollum himself, Mr. Andy Serkis, there's a huge amount of nuance and subtlety to the characters, and as a result, what could have been a standard adventure becomes a touching, funny, exhilarating ride.
Unidentified craft, please transmit your landing codes.
One?
One?
Yes.
One what?
Two? Hey, I think it worked.
Written by Hollywood screenwriter Alex Garland of 28 Days Later and The Beach, our heroes have real depth and never veer close to the cliché territory we'd feared. The tone is far more upbeat than you'd expect as well. The fact that the world has nigh on ended is merely a backdrop to one of gaming's most involving and personal stories.
Okay. If I can trace the diagnostic systems and find a backdoor to the quantum encryption circuits, I can try to bypass the security systems and then...
You know what? I'll just fight off an entire army while you do that.
Sounds like a plan.
It's not perfect. There are some annoying camera moments where hitting enemies becomes an exercise in blind man's bluff. The gameplay itself is somewhat simplistic, and individually we've seen elements of it done before, but in this case, the whole is definitely more than the sum of its parts. And the game moves at such a pace, it's hard to criticise anything this fun. The soundtrack by Nitin Sawhney is beautifully expansive, and the graphics are gorgeous, bright and alluring, with none of that turd grey normally trademarked by post-apocalyptic dystopias. And then, there are the set pieces. We don't want to ruin anything, but when the opening chapter alone has you hanging onto the wing of a crashing ship, you should have a good idea of what lies ahead. With a nice touch of puzzle solving, it isn't just a button basher either, and it's nice to see the two main characters working as a team, rather than feeling you're dragging the computer character along for a ride.
Monkey, there's a route up. I've coded the dragonfly to lead the way.
If you're wondering why you haven't played this gem, don't worry, we're thinking exactly the same thing. We all love it, and we thoroughly recommend getting your hands on it as soon as you can. Well, that's it for part one, but don't worry. Part two will almost definitely follow after the break. What's it? Oh, okay. Part two will follow after the break. See you then.